Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, just go ahead and leave a 5-star review. That would be great. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. I want to tell you guys about Cushy Dreams. They offer a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in CBD-rich hemp flower, aka bud, in cans and pre-roll CBD joints. I'm pulling up the website here. Boom. I love their products because they look, feel, smell, taste just like regular marijuana, but they're not going to get you high. All of these products have 0.3% THC in them, so you can get all the health benefits of CBD without going out to lunch for the rest of the day, if you know what I mean. It helps you sleep. It helps you, get a little bit of energy for the day. I really like the Hustle blend because it doesn't make me too sleepy. I like to have a few puffs and then I like my mind and body relaxed. I can go about my day. It just works for me. It's cannabis that ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch. It's 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. They do tons of tests to ensure compliance and purity, all of which can be found on their website, cushydreamscom. Here we go. They got all I love this. They have so many different blends, like indica sativa blends for whatever you want to do with your day. Hustle, dream, energy, peace. So if you want a little bit more energy or you want to relax before bed, they got you. They got you. And t-shirts. I mean, what else could you want? Each batch is slow cured for 2 to 4 weeks to guarantee maximum freshness and preserve flavor and cannabinoids. And best of all, it's grown here in the USA. So go to cushydreams.com. That's Kushy and get some high quality CBD bud at checkout. Use promo code CMP for every offer order for every order to get 20% off. Woo, I'm doing good. The weekend's almost here. Yes. Check it out, guys. I'm going to be doing stand-up. I don't just podcast. I do comedy sometimes too. And I'm doing it in a city near you. I'll be in New York City with Comedians of the Compound at Stand Up New York on, I think that's a Friday, April 9th. And then I'm heading to Wilmington, Delaware to the House of Laughs, April 29th. And I'm retarded today. I'm so sorry. I'm going to the House of Laughs on April 23rd and 24th. And then a couple dates in Florida I'm working out. Side Splitters in Tampa, May 2nd. Bricktown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City, May 9th. And then Comedians of the Compound is heading to Austin, Texas on May 14th and 15th, plus other dates to be worked out. My tour is getting a little bit rearranged, but we won't get into all that. Everything's great. Everything's great. I'm so excited to have this guy on the podcast today. You guys have been begging for this guy to come back. Begging incessantly, and he's just a tough guy to nail down. He's a busy guy. He's got a lot of shit going on. He's in demand. People love him. You may know him from Tinfoil Hat back in the day. You may know him from this very podcast, and he's here to just fill your minds, to explode them, to expand them. We're just gonna let him take the reins. It's Off the Grid, Ryan.
Hey, Chrissy, good to see you. Is that a Napoleon Dynamite character I see behind you?
Well, yes, it is. This
and
was
crystals.
This was my very first piece of flair. And of course it needs new batteries because I used to push a button. It would be like, gosh,
Gosh,
I haven't had any tots,
So is the crystals new since I've last done the pod? Are you going full saging? Are you getting down with it?
I've always been a kooky crystal lady, but I was supposed to do a podcast. I don't think I've talked about this yet. I was supposed to do a podcast with Milo Yiannopoulos. Do you know him?
Oh, yeah.
The other day, and he bailed on me not only once, but twice. And I was just I was so pissed because this last time was last Sunday. I rented a studio. He didn't want to do it over Zoom. And I was like, you know what? Let me go out of my way for this kid. He's whatever. Some people don't consider him a celebrity.
Whatever. I think he's the world's greatest troll, right?
I wanted to talk about him, how he's not gay anymore and what that's like. Maybe I was going to try to tempt him. Who knows? But then he bailed on me again for the second time. And he was like, when he confirmed, he's like, confirmed. And I drink Sancerre. So I went and bought like a $25 bottle of wine, which is that they're not easy to find. It's what I learned, it's a very specific, it's like a Sauvignon Blanc grape, but cuntier. I don't know. It's like French, whatever. And I had to drink it out of spite the other day.
Are you going to give him a third chance?
That's the thing, is like, it was no call, no show. I was emailing. I was like, are you okay? Did you get taken down? Are you in a camp somewhere? And I heard nothing. So I was upset. And so I left and I went into my favorite crystal store in New York City. It's on 14th Street. I think it's called Om Shanti. And I bought like this selenite. It's a charging bowl for crystals. And I think this is like chrysoprase. I've had these.
Really into it.
I've had these too. This is citrine. This is rhodonite, and this is something else with an R. So I've always
amethyst back there. Is that what I see?
Sure, this bad boy right here. Yeah.
For anti-witchcraft, in case.
Anti-witchcraft. I have to just rub this all over my body. No, it's obviously pointy. Yeah, amethyst. If you're like new to crystals, I should get a crystal expert. But amethyst is always a good like intro crystal because it's kind of good for everything.
Helps it so you won't deceive yourself as well.
Ooh, okay. I like that. So I went and bought all these crystals to feel better. Anyway.
I'm super nervous. Your pod was the last pod I've done. So leading up to it, when you like booked me, I was just sitting around like, what am I going to talk about? What do I say? It's so weird when like you have to be like the driving part. You know, for so long, I was a sidekick of sorts. So it's kind of just chime in there, do a little Zach Amico sniping, you know, but, I wanted to give you something from the bottom of my heart because that's who I am. I'm cheesy. I'm cringy. I know who I am, people. Don't worry about it. I got a real positive feeling going on these past couple months. I finally got ahead of my mental state and decided I'd get on meds. And nothing like super strong, nothing crazy where it like makes so I can't drive. Mainly makes it so I would eat and go to sleep at night because those are the two things. I was like, I had an unhealthy relationship with food. And sleep is something I like feared. Like, I don't know. As soon as I turned 40, I started getting claustrophobic. Like I would watch like these Ancient Alien episodes.
When did that happen?
Back in October. And then I was just find myself like, I'd be watching like Ancient Aliens and they're showing them going into the pyramids. And I'm like, oh, I could not imagine being like in closed space like that. I started like looking into it and it's all about, this is what happens when you get to, you know, middle-aged, the world's closing in on you. You know, your past is sucking up behind you. The future's coming in so close. Everyone you know is going to die.
Oh.
So I was like, whoa, dude, I was having all these anxious feelings. And I decided to go back where it all started and just like, I'm going to watch X-Files and Ancient Aliens and just be mellow and try to like not be a freak.
Because I remember, right, and I'm so happy to hear you say that because when I met you / last saw you, which was last March, it was like kind of a pivotal time because it was like at the very big kickoff of the pandemic. And I was so happy to like get to do the pod, like Sam's pod, and meet you. And we like had a kind of an epic ramen hangout afterwards. And then I was able to still do my show, and then everything. It was like in the door in Indiana Jones, like the thing closing down and you just have time to get your hat. That's how the LA trip felt for me. But I remember like hanging out with you, I was like, I love this guy, but he does seem like too, and all conspiracy people, anyone who thinks outside the box, we're all a little kooky, but I always had the concern that like, perhaps like you were getting yourself too worked up, too worried, too like in an unhealthy way, or like in a way that wouldn't like serve your genius, you know?
It's so easy to do, to focus on other things, to fill your mind with the fringe and what ifs and everything crazy so that you don't focus on the internal. The idea is the third eye is supposed to shine inward and look in. And I knew that. Like I've done so much psychedelics in my past, like my third eye is permanently fried open.
It's so, like a porn star's butthole. It's like a
exactly. And I mean, it honestly, podcasts help. Like podcasts to me are friendship simulators because I don't have lots of friends. I got one friend right here, DJ Buddy. I'm at the DJ Buddy Studios, and I've known him for damn near 20 years. But after that, it falls real quick. Like I'm a weird guy to be around. I'm never going to have a normal conversation with you. I'm going to always bring up Xenon 129 within 2-3 hours of us hanging out, which I will bring up later as well. But it's just been, for these socially distant times, like podcasting brings like a sense of some sort of normalcy. Like, I know it's not for everyone, but like, I'm a huge Cumtown fan. I'm a big, like, real ass dude, but skanks. It's something about like being able to laugh at the most fucked up shit in these times when it seems like it's all really fucked up around us anyways, you know? So
yes,
podcasts echo that.
And if you are a person who's been following like an Alex Jones or even like anybody in the conspiracy world, like the last month, I mean, the last year has kind of been like an, oh shit, things feel like they're quickening and things are coming together.
Are real. There's a pandemic, and now we all have to get this mark of the beast or vaccine, whatever you want to call it.
The vaccine passport thing, which, oh man, people probably thought Alex Jones was so like off his gourd, like out of his gourd when he said, oh, they're going to chip you. And you can already see them starting to plant the seeds of it, because I just saw this, like, Twitter trending news is very like legacy mainstream media oriented, but I like to read them just because I'm like, what are they spinning today? You know, and it's like, oh, why you shouldn't take photos with your vaccine card, you know, because everybody does like the, oh, look how great I am, I got my vaccine. And the article was talking about like, well, first of all, you don't want to trigger somebody in a more high risk group than you, because it might be hard for these other people looking at your photo to get a vaccine. And also, but their main reason was like, well, it could be easily duplicated, you know? And I'm like, this is what they're planting the seeds of this so that they can justify chipping us with it.
It's in your state, it's the first one to start at the Excelsior Pass. Have you heard of this yet?
No, I figured they'd give it some gay ass name like the Freedom Pass, you know?
It reminds me of, what is that? Silver Linings Playbook, Excelsior. So that's what's on the bottom of the New York flag. That's like your guys' little motto. So the Excelsior Pass is literally, once you've been vaccinated, you have like a QR code that you can like show people, and they can scan it and they'd be like, okay, you're cool. So instead of like swiping left or right and dating, now you're like going to just pass each other your phone, make sure that you're vaccinated, and we carry on with our weird ass 1984 lives.
It makes no sense. This is still a virus that's like 90, if I'm being so generous, 90% survivable. Most people say like 95, 99% survivable. The vaccine itself, only 90% effective. Like, why do we need all this? It really doesn't make any logical sense.
And our strain over here in California mutates. It's like the biggest mutative. So it makes no sense to even try to vaccinate it's just going to mutate, man. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to get yourself sick. And
I think it's being set up to justify every 6 months. Oh, you got to get another jab because it's a different strain. And then it's just like, it's disappointing because I think American people, like, there have been generations of us that have not had to fight for our rights. So not only do we like not really know how to, but I think a lot of us don't even know the signs. Like, when is shit truly getting bad? It's like, oh, it should have been, man. Looking back, it sucks so much, but I remember I was like excited to get 2 weeks off last March because I just never take vacation. Like, even when I'm sick, I'll work through it. Like, I just try not to be a pussy. And then there's part of me that was really happy to not have to like go to certain places for 2 weeks. And then it should have been at week 3. It should have been at a month where people started to go like, what the fuck? But it just was all so highly choreographed.
So what's it like doing sets now? Is it all just 90% COVID talk and mask talk? And
no, not really. The last shows I did, let's see, like I went to Hyenas in Dallas last month in February, and it was really great. And it was like largely my regular set with, like, you know, at the time, Ted Cruz was kind of in the news. So just mostly it's me talking to the crowd and doing crowd work, and oftentimes that stuff will hit harder than my material. Honestly, I think it was refreshing for people to joke about the guy in the pink shirt and talk about if this couple is still having sex. Like, I think that's a nice distraction from people than for me to get up there and like, I don't think people want me to get up there and try to use my 45 minutes to convince them not to get a jab, you know? I don't know if people want that.
Because like they say there's an equation to make comedy. It's tragedy plus time equals comedy. So we live in tragic times now. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like. I'm glad that you're out there doing it. I'm glad people are still out there making it happen. But for me in the West Coast, comedy's dead. Like I used to hang out at the Comedy Store all the fucking time, man. And now it's just a ghost town, you know?
Do they have anything open at the Comedy Store? Like
I still think they're doing stuff. They might be doing like
secret
under the table shit, you know? But
yeah, so was the Comedy Cellar for a while before, you know, now things are April 2nd. Well, tomorrow is the date. Things are going to be back supposedly. And then I got my first like city show April 9th. So we'll see how that goes. But it's just like you said, we're in the tragedy right now. Also, I think there's kind of two separate realities going on. I think there's people who believe the news, are scared, and then there's people who know the truth and are getting wise to it every day. So what are you going to make jokes not knowing what reality your audience is living in, you know, and then potentially ostracize the other half? So
it looks like your job just got a little more difficult, huh? In the apocalyptic times.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, well, you know, it'll be like any other show where I test the audience to see like, all right, I'm going to try to find out how into they are into dirty stuff. Like kind of take a temperature. Like, okay, they're not laughing at my joke about getting waxed. They're probably not going to laugh at my anal sex joke. And I think it'll probably be the same thing with being red pilled. I will, you know, because sometimes I'll say like, oh, thank you so much, guys, for risking your lives to be here. No, really. And then if that gets a laugh, it's like, okay.
Well, it's been fun watching you from the sidelines because, like I said, I listen to podcasts that you do. Whenever you pop up on Chip Chipperson, friggin' the Real Ass Podcast, I'm always just like rooting for you. But it's just one of those things. I'm like, wow, I wonder if I'll ever see this person in person again. You know, will you ever be on?
Yeah, I hope so.
I guess I'll have to come to Skankfest.
I mean, I don't even know if I'll be invited to Skankfest. Like,
you got to invite yourself. That's the most skanky thing you could do.
Show up, yeah. Be like, exactly. Look, one of your producers may not want me on any shows, but I am just here to hang out. Maybe I'll do that.
I was the other day I was hanging out, killing time in my car, waiting for my appointment to start, and I'm looking at my dashboard, and it looks just like a spaceship, all these cool buttons and shit. And I'm looking at the symbol for the Bluetooth, and I start looking. I'm like, that looks like a rune, like Norse mythology.
You mean like the dot and then the
so it's like the X
over it
and the B. So what? So what that is? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna Google this or DuckDuckGo it. Full on pulls it up, and it's initials. It's HB, and that means Herald Bluetooth. And he was the king of Norway that united Norway.
Yes.
So this is how our Bluetooth unites all of our different technologies together. And it made me start thinking, I was like, if that's a symbol I've been seeing, and it was made in 1997, I've seen it for decades now.
This even looks Icelandic, like what you mentioned, like Nordic. Yeah.
So the X is the H and the B is B. His name is Harold Bluetooth. He either had like a dead tooth or he wore all blue. No one really knows. But it made me start thinking like, what other symbols do I take for granted that I don't really know much about, but I've been like surrounded by? And it just so happened I was down the street from this temple, Shalom, and I'm looking at the Star of David, and I'm like, that's definitely got to be one. Like 100%. What I know from very little of looking into alchemy is that the symbols for the elements, we have two symbols that face up and two symbols that face down. And when you combine them all together, you get the balance. So you get the Star of David, or as it's an alchemical symbol pushed through time to help us teach about fire, air, earth, and water.
Ooh, all right. Interesting. So it seems like a lot of these, like our religions, have their roots in something deeper.
It's something more esoteric, something for those that want to really learn. You can find out, but you might not be into what you find out that it's not really about religion anymore. It's about the alchemical processes. And that's like as above, so below, as they say. The idea like reflected to me because I've been trying for 5 years now to really turn my like heart of lead into a heart of gold. And the only way I know how to do that is to be vulnerable and to be open and to be honest and just to be me, which is cringy at times. Believe me, I like take the back seat of my own like ride and be like, oh my God, what a dork. That being said, at least those that are close to me know that I love them. And those that are far from me, maybe there's a reason. You know, they say you can't always take everyone with you to the heights that you're going. And I feel so fortunate to have friends like you. I mean, we've met one physical time, but we've stayed friends.
It doesn't feel like it.
No, we actually got the same haircut too. I've noticed.
Yeah, now we have the same hair. And now,
exactly.
it feels like we're a long time old friends. That maybe that's just what happens when you get older. Like you're just like, after a few minutes, you're like, okay, this person gets it. Like this person can hang.
Yeah, the fact that you're even like willing to jump into a stranger's car and just drive around for hours with me, it made me realize I was like, this girl's either super trusting or doesn't know how crazy LA is.
You're like, I don't know whether to befriend her or rape her or what. You know?
And so I'm like, okay, if that is a symbol, then I've heard in time that the cross, the Christian cross, is trying to tell you to be in the now. And the reason why is the XY axis. If you were to make a graph, X and Y, in the center of the X and Y of the cross is you. So X and Y stand for time and space. And so we're in the forever now. Like the idea that the cross stood for miracles and for sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, your life. Well, the idea of the cross being pushed through time is for us to realize that we are right there in the center, where we are in the now, and that there is no back, there is no past, there is no future. All there is the forever now. And if you can stay grateful to that and live in gratitude, then the universe just starts giving you gifts. And I know this because I will randomly pray for my enemies. And I don't have too many, but I have people that I would consider like, I probably wouldn't go to their funeral, you know, or wouldn't cry a tear. So I realized there's something inside me that needs to get softened. So this whole concept is stay in here, stay in the driver's seat. If you're in the driver's seat and you're in present, you're not looking at your rear view mirror of the past, of all your bullshit that's coming and it's always in the back of your head. And you're not looking so far above into the future that you're going to smash right into the present. And like, if you're doing crystals, then I can imagine that you've attempted to meditate. Am I wrong?
I have attempted. Yeah, that was my big like goal for this year, like get into meditating. Cause I was always like, I've always been into that shit loosely. Like I was huge into yoga for years and years ago for,
oh yeah.
I would go like many times a week, the hot stuff too. Like it didn't matter to me that Bikram was like the huge rapist, whatever. Like I love the yoga. It works.
Well, yoga, it comes from the word yoke. And that's when you take two oxen and that wood device that keeps oxen together. The idea is that you're combining your spirit and your physical body. And then you get contact with the higher self, you know?
So these are just tools, right? Like whatever helps you get there, whether it's crystals or meditating or yoga or all of it.
I always say I can meditate really easy because I think I just did just the right amount of acid that either makes you feel like you can do meditation at any moment. But my like visualization is I'm sitting on like a beach, an endless beach, and in front of me are all the waves coming in, and the waves are my bad thoughts and my thoughts that are saying like, oh, you think that you're good enough to sit here and try to be like a meditator? Like who the fuck are you? You got to do your taxes, man. You got to go do your laundry. So these are all your negative thoughts that are constantly coming at you. And I just let the waves roll, crash onto the beach of my mind. And then I take a deep breath again and I try to reset. And all I'm trying to do is just breathe in the positivity and exhale the negativity. And I'm a negative motherfucker. Like most people that know me, I'm like negative Nancy. I have been Chicken Little saying the sky is going to fall for 20 years now. Ever since 9/11, I was like, dude, it's coming. It's coming. And then I'm pretty sure that 2020 is a shifting year in all of our lives, but it's not stopped coming. You know what I mean?
Do you think Trump slowed down these plans big time? Or they were just like, well, we're just going to spin it a little bit with him as the enemy? And
I don't know. It's so hard to place him into a box is tricky. I mean, I know the dude's shady and got all his buildings built by like, basically mafia ties back in New York. And then the fact that, I want someone that unites us, not divides us. And I never felt more of a divisive president in my lifetime than him. Like Bush, it was just like
a big reason for that was the media.
Yes and no. I mean, you just listen to what he says and like his stupid pursed face and the way that he would just like just who he is as a guy. He's just a guy's guy. And I guess maybe that's where I lean off. I'm way more feminine in my like attributes, and I definitely like insensitive. So I don't have what it takes to be a politician or to be a CEO or Fortune 500 head of anything, because I don't have those. I really don't have like the will or the guts to like burn people at the stake and step on heads.
You have to be able to access like your asshole pretty much, because not your physical asshole, but you have to be able to access that like asshole masculine part of you, I think. Cause there's just I think Trump was really good at coming across like not a pussy to the rest of the world, which like, yeah, he's not the perfect guy. It would have been better for everybody if like, his tweets weren't so mean or he wasn't so brash. But like a lot of people also loved him for it because we've been getting so many like fake ass politicians. Like, and he said a lot of things that people were thinking. And but I agree with you that like, I definitely feel like I don't love like male authority figures, especially when they're like old, scary and yelly. So. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think that's why they got Kamala in there, because they knew that we had just like a geriatric, the homeboy is sundowning right in front of our eyes constantly. I love it when he just, come on, Jack. And like, what?
Oh,
you're the president. You gotta
he's been out to lunch. Buddy. I think they jacked him up on something during the election or like up to it, and then just took him off of it, whatever they had him on.
They gave him the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, since I already mentioned Star of David and the Christian cross, I know this is tricky and sketchy to even talk about, but the flag, the banner for the Islamic State, or full on for Muslims or Islam's banner, is a crescent and a star on a field of green. You might have seen it. It's Saudi Arabia's flag and whatnot. There's about 7 countries in the Gulf Coast area that use this banner. And well, what's interesting about it is the Ottomans besieged the Byzantine capital of Constantinople in 1453. The city fell on June 4th, a night when the moon and Venus were quite close together in the evening sky, leading some to attribute this scene to the crescent stars and significant to Islam. So I find that very fascinating because moon, feminine, Venus, feminine.
Yeah.
I would not consider anything about the Islamic State or Muslims to be feminine.
No.
And so it's one of those things like you should question the symbols that like rule over us, that these things that we constantly see, but we just take it for granted that they are what they are.
So you wonder like how it came to be, how that came to be the flag.
I work on music videos and commercials, and I did a Wiz Khalifa music video about a month ago.
Ooh.
And he's a super sweet guy, actually. So it's always nice. Him and Marilyn Manson were the 2 sweetest people I worked for. I'm not saying Manson is a good dude, but when I worked with him, he was kind and nice. But I'm on this shoot, and there's a bunch of like legitimate Muslims, like these fools were like down for the cause. And I'm stepped up during lunch. And I was like, hey, what's up with the Venus and moon? And they're like, what? And then I just started like educating them. And then they're sitting back to like, how you know all this? I'm like, I got too much time on my hands, man. It's one of those things where nowadays, if we think of flags, we just think of nation states. We think of being patriotic, except for when you think of the thin blue line flag. Now, most people are going to say that this is patriotic and supporting the police and supporting the military. It's quite not. I was an Eagle Scout, so that means that we got to retire flags.
So was my brother.
So I wonder if he did what I did, which when a flag gets too worn and tattered up, you actually retire it. And by retiring it, you have to cut each of like the stripes, and you name each of the colonies that are attached to it, the 13 colonies that went with it.
Whoa.
You put it on the field of blue and you fold it into a triangle, and you very respectfully put it on the fire and you burn it.
Wow.
Right? So I burned many flags in my life out of respect. But this thin blue line flag, people need to understand what they're looking at, because I knew this because being a scout, they taught us the Constitution law about we had to respect the flag, blah, blah. Well, this flag is a white flag on top of black with the blue line controlling, which is the police and the military. So it's taken out the red. And to me, the red is the most important color in the flag because it represents the blood of patriots that have spilled before we even were born, that like fought for our freedoms so we can be these little bastards talking about burning flags.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go and look it up, and it's straight up, it's the void of color red. It represents the blood of patriots. You know, that should never be oversighted, that they died, bombs bursting in the air. They fought each other on Gettysburg. They were out there on Normandy. They were doing it for us. I would not have the balls to do this myself, anything that they did, but they did it so that I could be free and talk about these things. And so in direct violation of Title 36, Chapter 10, Section 176, respect for the flag. No disrespect should be shown to the flag of the United States of America. The flag should not be dipped to any person or thing. Regimental colors, state flags, an organization or institutional flags should not be dipped as a mark of honor. Now, here's where it gets really interesting.
So are they saying it should never be lowered?
It shouldn't be dipped for a person. There's like, it's one of those things where, you ever been in the court? You ever had to go to court? Have you noticed the flag in there?
I'm a good girl.
You
no.
never had to go to so the flag has gold fringe.
High? Oh, yes, I've seen that.
So there's this dope-ass LA underground hip-hop star. His name's Tumex, and he had this rhyme one time where the gold fringe on the flag reminded me of old Singe body bags. And that's what I always think about now when a few times I have to go to court. I'd see that. I'm like, dude, that's probably not even a real American flag. And if that's not even a real American flag, then this whole fucking court probably isn't real, you know? Of course, I'm a conspiracy theorist and I go that deep. But in this section right here, this is where it really gets to it. The flag should never be placed upon, nor any part of it, nor attached to mark upon it, insignia, letter, word, figure, design, no pictures. That they should never be able to remove any colors. So the fact that there is government workers that are county, state officials, whether they are police or they're the military, they're the Marines, the Coast Guard, you'll see these guys rocking the thin blue line flag. And they're in direct violation of constitutional law. They can actually be subjugated up to like 90 days in jail. But
like the most accepted thing. It's like it's up at, firehouses. It's up. They're all over. People go, we're supporting the police. It's the right thing to do.
It came out it seems to come out at the same time as BLM, and it's the answer for BLM, which is this is the white flag on top of suppressing the black, using the blue as measures of order.
Interesting.
To me, I would participate in burning that flag with no hesitation because it's nothing more than just colors and stripes. Wow. It's not an actual symbol for freedom, a symbol where we were designed to. It just gets me at the core of it. Like there's still a part of me that is a patriot because like I know how fucking free I am in this country, that I get to talk the way I talk, live the way I want to be, marry who I want to marry, do whatever the fuck I want to do. But the only reason that I get to do that is because a bunch of old, crusty, crazy bastards went to war with a bunch of other people and even themselves.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Luke 23:34. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And remember, Jesus wasn't saying that to the Romans that were stabbing him with the spear of destiny. He was saying that to the Jews and the Christians that followed him at the time. He's like, don't forgive them. They don't know what they do. And that's what I think about when I see these thin blue line. I mean, I see kids in like swim trunks that are like thin blue line swim trunks. And imagine like in the 30s when the Browns and the Nazis were really gaining power. I imagine you started to see those flags more and more. And people were just like, oh, is this what we're doing now? I guess so. So you got to educate people, but not start like a negative discord. Like it's so easy to be like, fuck you and your blue flag, you know? That being said, I have one on the back of my car because I think that it will stop police from pulling me over. So
yeah,
I use that symbol in hopes that it just keeps me on the road.
I have a sticker on the back of my car that says I give good blowjobs, and that's what I do to stop. Well, actually, maybe that's why I get pulled over so much. Gosh darn it. I'm just kidding. Do you smoke at all?
No, I used to smoke.
How did you quit? I mean, you must have quit. How did you quit?
Oh, it was easy. I'd stopped everything. I became a vegetarian before I like stopped drinking alcohol and doing all the negativity parts of my life about 5 years ago in May. So,
well, have you ever heard about Lucy?
well, help.
Lucy is a nicotine company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. Did you know that these products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people and not patients? Lucy has a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in wintergreen, pomegranate, and cinnamon. Each and every flavor tastes great. Doesn't taste like chewing on a cigarette. And if you're more of a lozenge person, they have a cherry ice flavor as well. That's convenient, discreet. These products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, telling conspiracy stories, wherever. It's 2021. Time to get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. Do you know, Ryan, that you can subscribe to Lucy and the delivery will come to your door every month, so you don't have to leave your house. You could just stay in your house, chewing your gum, having a good time. And for all my CMP listeners, go to lucy.co and use promo code CMP to get 20% off all products. Yes.
Nice.
Also, I do have to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. Do you know what else is addictive, Ryan?
What?
Savings.
What are we going to save on? Using the CMP?
You're going to save 20% with CMP.
Yes. Well, I do know smokers. I'll start telling people about Lucy.
Really? Wow. Thanks.
Yeah. I'll spread the word and make sure they use your offer code too.
That's my organic ad read.
That was good. You got me. So I'm one of probably the few people that don't think that you're a right-wing alternative person.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, people, even I've had close friends, I thought, call me a conservative shill, a right-wing wacko. And I'm like, I think that's just what people like to call somebody they disagree with on anything for any reason. Just like how people throw out racist or white supremacist. It's everybody now.
Do you have any future plans for the next event that you're going to go witness? Because that's what I consider you've been doing. You've been inserting yourself into the story like the way Hunter S. Thompson used to do it, like for gonzo journalism. I think this is gonzo podcasting. You're like going there, catching the vibe, feeling the pulse, getting those interesting interviews.
I like to go gonzo. Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with that because I have interviewed so many porn stars that anytime I hear gonzo, I just immediately think like anal penetration. So no, I appreciate that. And yeah, I started going because I had the feeling that we weren't being, given the real honest take of what these events were like. And I also was curious about MAGA people. I heard so many negative stereotypes and I went, I'm like, oh, these are the smartest, like, I don't know who, I'm sure there weren't all MAGA people there. There was immigrants. There was people who had parents from like Cuba or wherever that were like afraid of socialism. Just the vibe, not to like group it down, but the vibe at these protests was like really amazing. Everyone was full of love. Everybody just like loves each other in this country. And just a lot of energy. Nobody was being like hateful. There was no weapons. There was no like anything, and I don't know. I just feel like I was like, oh, wow, it's really encouraging to see this many people who give a shit. So
yeah, you gotta give a shit about something, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it was fun to see Alex Jones. Like I was kind of marching like maybe 10 feet from him. And I was like, he's right there.
Was he barking? Was he going,
he rolls deep. Yeah, he's got a whole like swarm of people around him. He's got bodyguards. He's getting up on hills with a megaphone, and then the megaphone dies. People are passing up a better megaphone, and like he's got a devout following. Yeah, he's a passionate guy.
Are you going to be going in May to the Comedians of the Compound in Texas?
Yes, I am. It's going to be at the Big Laugh Comedy Club in Austin. And I haven't been to Austin probably since like 2006. So I'm excited to go.
I think it's going to be pretty good for you there.
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited.
I keep on hearing that getting plugged on different pods.
Ooh, okay, good.
With usually Anthony Cumia.
Yeah, he's awesome. I just had the 200th episode celebration week for my pod. So he was one of the episodes. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's so naturally funny. Just a smart guy. Oh, like I feel bad because he got a real bad rap. I think people like really labeled him racist and a bad guy. And when you actually like hear the stories of like what happened, you're like, that's it. Like you were attacked and you were defending yourself, and it's like it's
how
wild.
They spin it.
Yeah,
it's how you spin it.
And it's like and that's what I've realized too, especially with like Gavin McInnes. It's like, wrong place, wrong time. You said the wrong thing, and you just ended up getting picked to be made an example of.
Yeah.
So
completely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like, not that I want to tread lightly and not say what I feel, not be honest or transparent, but I think it's smart to be like wise to their ways and learn the tricks of YouTube, the tricks of like, you can say a different word and it's okay if it means you're not going to get demonetized, Who's
on your like wish list that you could get if you can get anyone on CMP?
Oof, Jordan Peterson. He's like my daddy. He's like the daddy I never had. I always mention him. And really? I'm like, I'm not done reading this. I barely started.
So have you switched to a carnivore diet as well?
No, yeah. I'm so weird. My eating is so weird. Like I'll just not eat anything till like 12. I won't eat till I'm like fucking starving, and then I'll be like, okay. I just wake up, I have coffee, I gotta drink more water. That's probably my biggest downfall.
Before I got into podcasting, I used to work at a vitamin shop in Studio City, and like a lot of like random famous people would come in there, like
Ooh.
Denzel Washington I met one time, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses.
Who bought the most laxatives?
What's his name? Randy Jackson comes. He opens the door and he goes, "Damn, dog, smells like vitamins up in here." And then like
vitamins do have a smell, and the vitamin shop definitely has like that waxy vitamin casing smell.
When I worked there, this weird like German dude with like a harsh German accent, and I guess it's from growing up with Indiana Jones that I distrust most Germans. Just doesn't matter. Like I'm not trusting you. So he would come in and he was.
That's how I feel about my dad. I'm just like, no.
No, German dad.
He's German. Yeah, I'm half.
I see he has a name tag on, and it was JPL for Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and so I was like, and I would just like kind of just observe this dude and just leave him alone. And one day, finally, the store was kind of empty, and he came in, and he was like a talkative guy, and I was like, "Do you know who Dr. John Brandenburg is?" And he goes, "Yes, I do." And I was like, "Have you ever worked with him?" He's like, "He works at JPL." And I'm like, He's like, "Why do you ask?" I'm like, "Well, I was just wondering if you knew why the Xenon 129 is present on Mars' atmosphere and in its soil." And I watched
just chit chat.
Yeah, and I see him go, "How do you know about Xenon 129? And I was like, "Yeah, I've watched a lot of Ancient Alien, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh, you're one of them." And my manager, she's looking at me the whole time. She's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Xenon 129 is weapons grade plutonium signature. It's been in our atmosphere since the White Sands testing in New Mexico. It can only happen with weapons grade signature plutonium. There is naturally occurring plutonium on Earth. There's like one in Africa, an old like reactor, but this is from natural pressures. This isn't
Xenon 129 is called
Xenon 129.
How do you spell it?
XENON 129. And so when the Mars orbiter, the first one that just orbited Mars and then took like sample, just basically observing its what the molecule structure was of all the atmosphere and then being able to read the soil. And xenon 129 is present in Mars atmosphere and soil. So that means that sometime in the very, very distant past, millions of years ago, Mars was basically attacked by two ginormous thermonuclear weapons.
Whoa.
And it blew away its atmosphere because Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. It's completely gone. So I'm explaining this to him and he's just looking at me and he's like, you seem to know a lot about xenon 129. And after that, the dude never came back.
Oh, man.
So I was always wanted to see, like, so if you ever do watch Ancient Aliens, occasionally you'll see Dr. John Brandenburg pop up. You can write his name into podcasts. He's done lots of pods. He's one of those things. It's like, it's fascinating to imagine that. Like, have you ever heard of the Indigo Children?
No, I've heard of the Indigo Girls.
They're good. Real good. 90s. They're considered like the next stage of human evolution. There's these kids that are being born with hypersensitivity to all sorts of stuff.
Is it because of too much screen time?
Who knows? Well, it could be that these things are making us adapt and become more technologically advanced and more designed for texting constantly and being on computers. But like the Indigo Children, they describe them as being like hopefully the next stage of human evolution to where we're more in touch with each other and our emotions and the earth and blah, blah. Well, these Indigo Children, a lot of them have these dreams of being on Mars and being in a thermonuclear war and being in like on a distant planet where there's war. So what it is in between Mars and I believe it's, Jupiter is the next one, is the asteroid belt. There's this asteroid belt in between. And so the idea is there used to be a planet called Tiamat, and it was a giant ocean style planet, mainly ocean. And something happened to where either it was destroyed, another planet crashed into it. And that's what we consider to be the asteroid belt nowadays. And that's also where certain scientists think octopus, the octopods, aren't even originate from this planet. They think that this water planet was blown up and then like life forms were taken up into ice, immediately frozen, and then it eventually rained down onto Earth and seeded our planet because octopuses, they have like trihelix. It's like these crazy ass like DNA strands. They don't even comprehend if they believe that octopus are even like smarter than most dogs, and even pigs, even dolphins. So
wow. Do you see the video of this Asian lady like pulling an octopus off her face because it was like sucking under her face, and it was like she'd pull it off and it would be like, whoa. You could see her like it was really bad. And I was like, is this a mukbang gone awry?
It sounds like it.
It had a lot of views.
So my whole reason for bringing it up, because NASA is never a straight answer, but if you're going to go with what they say, then they're the ones saying this, that xenon 129 is present in Mars soil and atmosphere. And it's totally worth a Google.
Well, then who did that to Mars? You know what I mean? Like, how did that, what do you think?
It coincides with one of the great die-outs. I don't know the exact period offhand, but like there's these periods in Earth evolution where 95% of the whole Earth's life is like died out because of thermo activities, volcanoes, the whole 9 yards, displacement. So the idea is around the same time when they dropped two bombs on Earth or on Mars, maybe they came over and saw that Earth was on its way to becoming more evolved. So perhaps they helped with the die out then too. It's one of these. My whole thing is I don't want you to fall down the geopolitics hole. You know, I would love to encourage you to look up history's mysteries.
Okay, history's mysteries instead of like getting a piss with China, basically.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like,
what are you gonna do?
We can never change anything. We're just a whisper in a hurricane. Especially geopolitics, and it only divides us. Like everyone in your family has their own points of view. Now we can't really talk about it. It used to be something we kept outside, you know?
Yeah.
So I just try and encourage you to go towards history's mysteries.
Ooh, I like that. History's Mysteries with Off the Grid Ryan.
Hey, it could be done. I
could see a puppet show.
I have to thank you because I've stopped believing in myself. And then you out of nowhere, you hit me up and, hey, you want to do my pod? And so it made me have to all right, what am I going to talk about?
Good to get it up. And that's like life. That's what friends are for, is and I'm somebody people go, oh, Chrissy, you're such a hustler. You're putting out so much content. For real though, I have somebody who's kicking my ass because left to my own devices, oh, I can get moody and brood and so easily stay in bed till noon. Yep. And it's it takes a team, it takes people to bring out the best in one another.
I just want to encourage everyone to be more vulnerable and open and honest, because we live in a time where that's gold. That's gold nowadays, is being real. I mean, it's how I stood out at the comedy store. I mean, I would go there and I was never drunk. I was never a problem. And I was always respectful to people. And because of it, I got to meet amazing people. I doubt that it'll ever come back again. It's
really, wow.
California is not going to be unmasked. Dakotas, they'll be fine. Montana, Wyoming, you name it. But California and New York will probably be the two last to become unmasked, which sucks because this all comes back to, I probably said this before on a podcast, but people back in the ancient Greeks, they used to wear these masks to perform plays, and the mask had a conical mouthpiece, and it was called a persona. So you put on this persona, and this is who you were. And so nowadays we all put on this persona in our Instagram life, where we're the best picture, it's filter, took 7 shots, this is the one I'm going to use. Where in nowadays, if you're just going to be open and vulnerable and real and raw, people don't even know what to do with you. A lot of people don't know what to do with me because they're not used to people being so sensitive and so just being yo, I'm a fuck up. I'm 40 years old. I'm not where I want to be in life. I'm heading towards it. And I got all this wreckage behind me. The only way I know how to stay positive is to stay right here in the now.
Definitely. Yeah. And not to get so hung up, try to just drop as much resentment as you can with everybody in your life. And it's
hard.
Easy for us to be well, it's been this long since, even with little stuff like cleaning or whatever, or sex, it's so easy to keep track and feel justified. And it's no, it's just that was that now, this is this now. It's just it's so hard. It's so easy to say, so hard to do, stay in the present. And then you're well, how do you even find that? How do you find the present? It's take a step back and just be okay, what is something that brings me joy that I can do right now?
Yeah.
Just to clear your headspace. And I forget there's so many days where I'm just oh yeah, I forgot about music. Get out of my laptop, go put some music on, dance around, clean, be a little ADD. It's okay to have huge swaths of nothing time.
At the end of the day, it comes down to the serenity prayer. I mean, I myself is not Christian or whatnot, but I'm spiritual, and I know there's something much bigger than me. I know there's a higher power. I'm not going to doubt that. But the idea of the serenity prayer is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I feel this day and age more than ever, it's the difference between the things I can change, I can't, it's giant. So I don't know why I grind myself on the cheese grater of life to be try to be someone else. Because this is who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be this vulnerable weirdo that is talking to you from across the country. And then hopefully if the world ever opens up again and I can travel to Texas, I'll get to see you do stand-up.
Yeah, definitely. I know it is. I do feel a bond with you, the New York, California, we're stuck, we're in the worst states right now for the mask shit. But I know I
wanted to show you something cool.
I sometimes get caught, I'll get into a place where it's do nothing, throw your hands up, or join a militia. Sometimes I go back and forth. like those are the only two choices, you know what I mean? Like start prepping and order a bunch of food in boxes and you know what I mean? Get ready for the fight. And then it's like, but you don't want to not be ready for the fight, but at the same time, you don't want to like work yourself up for nothing.
I'm trying to be as less tied down and weighed down by things. So I just try my hardest to get them off my chest and to get them out of my mind, because I could say personally, like being a conspiracy theorist and alternative history researcher or fringe, whatever you want to call it, it affected my mental state more than I ever was aware, because it allowed me to just detach, because then I didn't have to focus on the inside. And it's so funny for me to have a third eye and to not use it. And so my whole thing is, I just want to encourage any of your listeners to be vulnerable, to be honest with themselves, because that's a rarity nowadays.
How did you know you were too detached? Like, how did you know you needed maybe pills or help?
I was starting to get really paranoid. And for no reason. I mean, there is a reason to be paranoid. There is a new world order and whatnot, but I just started to not trust myself. And like, that's one thing I always kind of had like a firm grasp on who I was. And luckily it also got jump started by a little heartbreak. I had like a little heartbreak happen.
A little breakup.
And nothing like that will, it was something just enough to push me over the edge to be like, dude, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be constantly anxious about what's going to happen. So, it worked for me. So it's working for me. I'm still trying to work through it, but I wanted to show you something really cool. I have a friend in Oregon, and they live on the Oregon, Northern California border. They have a bunch of property, and they have a deer cameras set up so they can check like trail cams, any like animals that come through.
You mean the Oregon Trail?
Oh, it's exactly where it is. And so this image I'm going to show you right now. You tell me what you think this looks like.
I hope it's a penis.
So.
Oh my God. I mean,
right?
That looks like Bigfoot.
Look at the hands. So people tell me this is a bear. Look at those hands.
No fucking way. Look at it in comparison to the trees.
And in the face, if you see it, it looks like the face had moved. So this right here was taken in November of 2020.
What the fuck is that? I'm so sorry for you guys just listening.
So you got to check it out.
On the, you got to come to YouTube so you can see what we're talking about. This looks like.
Do you think that's a bear?
No, that's not a bear. Where are the ears? And it's also got a mouth, like a person mouth.
Yeah.
It's
so
like just,
my friend, she works with the authorities. So like, she's like trying to get this to some sort of analyzation lab or something to be like figure out what it is. So hopefully I'll be able to tell you more next time about it.
And a bear is like, doesn't stand up straight. Like when it does stand up straight like that, it looks a little more lumbery. It's got a little bit more meat on it, I think.
Yeah.
No, that's not a bear.
I showed that to one of my friends and he was like, it's a bear. And I'm like, wow, I love that you just have that ability just to 100% believe in yourself.
Right. Because if you know it's a bear, then you don't have to, it doesn't fuck up your paradigm.
Exactly,
man. Wow. Ryan, what are if people are hearing of you for the first time and you've piqued their curiosity, like what I always like asking, like what books do you recommend? Or if people are like, man, he thinks like how I think, and how would you steer them?
I would give you, so I told you I like history's mysteries. 1947. That's what I would tell people. 1947. There's a couple things that happened that year that changed history. The creation of the CIA out of the former Office of Strategic Services in 1947. So that's the founding of our now what we know as the main agency of intelligence. The founding of the State of Israel, 1947, and the Roswell incident, 1947. So I always tell people, start there, get weird, follow down the trail, start pulling threads, and you're going to start finding out things that you never knew existed. I strongly believe that Aleister Crowley, and I believe it was from 46 into 47. So Aleister Crowley died in 47, actually. One of his children that people think that are related to him is George Bush, who was born in 46.
Whoa!
And so his mom was in France at the same time when Aleister Crowley was. And when you look at Crowley and you look at Barbara
George
Bush,
W.
Yeah, there's a connection there. So who knows?
So HW is not his dad, you're saying?
Probably not.
Woohoo! Juicy. I love that.
And you can't go wrong with going back and watching Ancient Aliens. As cheesy and as weird as they like to be, they pepper it in with facts. So I would look up John Brandenburg, Dr. John Brandenburg, and watch any episode he's on.
Okay. And a lot of this information is still out there. A lot of people get upset, books being censored, getting out of print. I'm sure a lot of this you could still get on Amazon. And if not, what are your alternative to Amazon places to get information?
Do you use DuckDuckGo?
Yes, I'm all about it now.
Yeah. Besides that, I as weird as it is, I go to Bing and I look at the news from Bing. And for some reason, it reminds me of the funny papers from Men in Black, where they get the information. I've been seeing more and more things that pop up on my radar.
Ooh,
the last time I was on your pod, I was warning about Apophis, the Greek god of chaos, the asteroid that's headed to Earth. Well, it passed us in between.
It missed us, yay!
Yeah, it missed us. NASA says that it's not going to hit us for at least 100 years. That's if you believe NASA, and I don't. So.
What have NASA ever done for me directly? I don't know. Nothing.
I doubt it.
Ryan, this is so great.
I appreciate you having me.
Everybody follow Off the Grid Ryan on Instagram at non-toot. My other Instagram, not a toot. My other Instagram got nuked and I didn't see it coming. I got no warnings, nothing.
What'd you do?
I'm still so shocked. They didn't tell me. I have no idea. My only guess is that some of the stories I was sharing were a little bit snippets of videos of just scientists talking about the warnings of vaccine injury. So
they considered you an anti-vaxxer and they shot you in the foot.
Yeah, but it wasn't even I wasn't even commenting anything wild. I would just post it and be interesting, because I want people to make up their own minds and look into stuff.
Yeah.
But no warning, no freaking warning. At least with Twitter, they'll be delete this, then you can get your account back. So annoyed. Well,
I hope to see you soon. I'm going to try to get out to Texas.
Yeah, that would be awesome if you can do Austin. And if not, I don't know, we'll try to meet somewhere in between.
Definitely.
And yeah, any of you
more
guys,
photos for you too.
Awesome. And if you guys listening, if you love Ryan like I do, you want to hear him explore different topics, I feel like a little bit about everything. You can always hit write in the comments what you want to learn more about. Hit up Ryan. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Awesome, Chrissie.